Wild, right? I saw that statement and my jaw dropped to the floor. Getting vaccines makes you less likely to get dementia or Alzheimer's. According to one study, that's true. But without getting too political, I'm going to just say that big pharma pockets are deep. But regardless of my political beliefs, I will say that protecting your brain is one thing I take very seriously. I've lived the reality of family members who slowly start forgetting everything and everyone they ever knew. And if I can prevent that, I'm going to try my darndest. The bottom line is, if you don't take care of your brain right now, you may be at increased risk of developing dementia. In fact, some estimates say that over 40% of dementia cases in the US are due to lifestyle factors. And dementia is, unfortunately, common. According to a study published in JAMA Neurology, 10% of Americans have dementia, and an additional 22% have mild cognitive impairment. But you don't have to be one of those people. By eliminating some bad habits today, you can start taking measures to improve your brain. I'm going to dive into those bad habits, but before I do, I want you to take a few seconds and think of someone who could be helped by this video, and then share it with them. It might just change their life. Okay, back to vaccines. As I mentioned, a study published in the Journal of Alzheimer's Disease found that people who get flu shots are less likely to develop Alzheimer's in the 4-year period following their vaccination. In fact, after the 4 years were up, 5% of people who had a flu shot developed Alzheimer's, compared with 8.5% of those who hadn't been vaccinated. There are several possible explanations for this. One, according to the researchers, is that the flu shot may affect the part of the immune system that is linked to Alzheimer's, and thus reduce its likelihood. However, another explanation is simply that people who take better care of their health, including their brain, are just more likely to get vaccines. At the end of the day, more research is needed to determine whether the relationship between vaccines and cognitive decline is one of causation or correlation. But either way, taking care of your health will go a long way for your brain. Number 2, sitting. According to Harvard Health, the average person sits for 6.5 hours per day, not even including sleeping time. And that inactivity can be bad for your brain. A study published in the Journal of PLOS 1 linked too much time sitting in middle age and older adults to changes in areas of your brain responsible for memory. The researchers looked at a part of the brain called the medial temporal lobe, or MTL for short, which is responsible for forming new memories. In 35 people between the ages of 45 and 75, they also looked at the amount of time the study participants sat each day. What they found was that the participants' MTL thicknesses had an inverse correlation with the amount of time they spent sitting. While the authors of this paper made clear that more research is needed, the results of this study indicate that if you sit a lot, you might be at an increased risk of cognitive decline. Number 3, being negative. Do you find yourself complaining a lot? Is your inner narrative negative? If so, you might be doing more harm than you thought. Remember the saying, "Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me"? Well, that's wrong, at least when it comes to your brain. In fact, negative thinking has been linked to poor brain health, and even a higher risk of developing diseases like Alzheimer's. A 2020 study that was published in the journal Alzheimer's and Dementia set out to determine whether there was an association with repetitive negative thinking and cognitive decline. They did indeed find an association, with decline in cognition, immediate and delayed memory, and global amyloid and entorhinal tau deposits. You may be wondering what those last 2 results mean. Well, amyloid and tau deposits are both linked to Alzheimer's. So in other words, people with repeated negative thinking had more biomarkers for Alzheimer's in their brain. Number 4, drinking sugary beverages. You probably know that sugary drinks can cause weight gain, but did you know that they're also bad for your brain? That's right, soda, energy drinks, and even fruit juice and sweetened tea are all associated with cognitive decline. One 2022 study that was published in the journal Nutritional Neuroscience looked deeper into this relationship. The study looked at a group of adults aged 60 and older over the course of several years and compared their cognitive decline with their intake of sugary beverages. What they found was that sugary beverage intake was significantly linked to cognitive decline, regardless of age. So ditch those sugary drinks. Your brain will thank you. Number 5. Not having enough friends. Most of you probably won't be surprised when I tell you that loneliness is linked to depression. But did you know that people who are lonely are also more likely to develop Alzheimer's and other forms of cognitive decline? In fact, according to the CDC, social isolation is associated with a whopping 50% increased risk of developing dementia. A 2022 study published in the journal Neurology looked more into this. They found that among Americans younger than 80, there was a 3-fold increased risk of developing dementia if they were lonely. This was the case even though these people didn't have other risk factors. Another study, published in 2021 in the Journals of Gerontology, Series B, looked at the effects of social engagement on grey matter, which is the area of your brain that processes information. For context, less grey matter has been linked to dementia. And what they found was that those who were less socially engaged lost more of their grey matter. It's not totally clear why loneliness is linked to cognitive decline, but some scientists have speculated that one reason may be because being alone means you're less mentally stimulated. Whatever the reason, loneliness is a serious problem. If you're having trouble meeting people, try joining a group in your community or volunteering. Making new friends may be easier than you think. If you enjoyed this, please consider subscribing as we continue to make content to help you live longer, happier, healthier lives.